When I was a kid watching sci-fi films, I'd always dream of this future with a fully automated house. I was kind of really obsessed with this idea of home automation, and the technology's actually finally got to the point I had in mind then, and it's just fantastic to be experiencing this now. These roller blinds from SmartWings really come close to this sci-fi utopia I had in mind. So if you're new to smart blinds altogether and you're wondering if this is the product that is the one to make the jump into the idea, this video is for you. We're going to dig in and we're going to look at how good they look, how easy they are to order and install, as well as how well they integrate in your smart home ecosystem. We're also going to look at why smart blinds actually are a wonderful thing to upgrade your house with if you're new to home automation, so make sure you watch to the end. This isn't a sponsored video. SmartWings did send me these blinds and I can keep them, but they have no influence over what I say in this video. Let's jump in and look at the ordering process. So this is really straightforward. So these are fully bespoke blinds. So when you order them, you're actually inputting the measurements of the window that you want to use them for. That's fantastic because it means you don't have to do any cutting or trimming when they arrive. They're just ready to go out the box. So they've got a bunch of really nice textures and all the different kind of opacities that you might want. So whether you want a full blackout or a partial or, various percentages, and they've got different colors to go with those textures. Now, what's nice about these is they've actually got different kinds of fabric texture on here. So it's not just like, you're just choosing a color and opacity. You can actually choose what kind of fabric, and they are real woven fabrics on the sort of level of opacity backing that makes it all work. And I think that's really nice because texture is something that's often overlooked with kind of high-tech products, I think, and it's great to see them sort of taking that seriously here. So because they're a bespoke product, obviously there is a little bit of a turnaround time, sort of like between 1 and 2 weeks, but the shipping once they've built them is really fast. They're nailing the global shipping thing, which I think is fantastic to see. I love it when a company can get something from one side of the world to the other in just a couple of days. It's just brilliant. All your main smart home hubs are supported, so you've got HomeKit support, Google and Alexa. What's interesting about these blinds though is that you do actually have to make that decision when you're ordering them. And you sort of, at first glance, you do wonder if that's a bit of a negative if you think in the future you might want to change ecosystems, you are a bit stuck. But actually the purist in me really likes this approach because it's actually reflective of the hardware requirements of the different ecosystems because they are different. So when you use Amazon Alexa, those hubs actually use Zigbee and they have the Zigbee radios inside the hubs, which means when you buy an appliance, it only needs to have Zigbee compatibility in the appliance. Whereas with HomeKit, those hubs don't use Zigbee themselves, they all use Wi-Fi. So the blinds, when you order them with the HomeKit compatibility, actually come with Wi-Fi connection. So it's a different hardware requirement in those devices. And I think it's great that you're actually only getting what you need. Obviously the HomeKit one is slightly more expensive as a result of that, but the Alexa people obviously don't have to pay for something they don't need. So I actually think that's a really brilliant approach. And what that means, of course, is that you're not forced to have all these proprietary bridges everywhere. A lot of smart home products have these bridges, which of course lets them support all the different ecosystems out of the box. But it means that everybody has to have these bridges, which is very annoying as we kind of add more of these smart products to our homes. So once they arrive, the installation process is super simple because obviously they're fully bespoke. They are pre-made to your exact window. So there's no trimming, there's no hacksaws. I've done so many of these blinds where I've ordered a blind and I have to trim it to fit the window. It's just so annoying. It's great just to have it ready to go. And the mounting brackets and hardware, really simple. They're one of the nicest kind of mechanisms I find for blinds of all the ones I've used. The ones I find particularly annoying, the ones you have to put the brackets at the right width and then the blind clicks in. With this, the brackets can basically go anywhere along the top or the back walls, and then the blind unit itself just clicks in and the profile of that top sort of clicky area is the same all the way across the blind. So there's no requirement to meet a specific point. You can just click it on, and there's a little spring inside the clip so you can take it on and off quite easily. Very simple. It means you can just click those brackets into place, drill a couple of holes, and you're done. It's a good approach to how to mount these blinds, I think. One thing that's really nice to see is that the attention to detail in the instruction manuals is high. They've got color screenshots of how to set it up in your ecosystem. Obviously if this is your first product, those kinds of steps could be pretty daunting. So it's great that they've actually put the attention to detail in the user guides that come with the product. One thing that did trip me up a little bit, one of the blinds I ordered was actually for a full height door, patio door. And of course we've got skirting boards at the side of the opening at the base, which means the blind couldn't actually drop down. So even though I measured the full height and I was expecting to drop it in between the skirting boards, the blind goes so close to the edge, which is a good thing. That was the width I specified. I don't want too much light bleeding in around the edges, but of course it does mean it doesn't fit between the skirting boards. But that's okay because you can recalibrate the closed position just using the remote control. So you set the new close position, and then when you ask Siri, in my case, to close the blind, it will stop at the new position, so it doesn't actually collide with the skirting board. My HomeKit version was typically simple to set up. So obviously the HomeKit accessory adding process is very straightforward. You just use the app to scan the QR code, and then it adds itself to your smart home setup in HomeKit, and the rest is obviously just normal HomeKit control. You don't even need any specific separate app installed on your phone. It literally just works out of the box with your HomeKit setup. And I think that's brilliant. You know, as we add these appliances to our houses, it's nice just to be able to add them. You know, you've got the HomeKit system. You don't want any other functionality from third-party apps necessarily. You want it working with your smart home ecosystem. So that's great that is not a requirement to use any additional apps. So if you're new to the idea of smart blinds, what kind of things can you do? Well, with HomeKit, and of course this is going to be fairly similar in terms of capabilities with the other ecosystems, but the idea is you can use your voice to control your blinds. Obviously, whichever room they're in. Hey Siri, close the garden blind. Your ecosystem knows when you're talking. If you're in the room, if there's a HomePod in the room, it will assume you're in that current room.
One sec. Okay, the garden blind is closed.
But you can always specify the room when you use your phrasing to control the blinds. So of course you can open them fully or close them fully. You just say open the blind or close the blind, and they will open or close fully. But you can also use percentages, so you can say 50%, 25%, and that, you know, all just works really nicely. Now the only thing I did notice with this, with the HomeKit integration, is there is a little bit more of a delay with these blinds than with other HomeKit devices. You know, normally when you ask for something, they do respond pretty much instantly, whereas with these there is a little delay, and sometimes the delay is actually long enough to make Siri do the thing where it tells you the appliance is taking slightly longer to respond than normal. It's not an issue, it's never not done it, it always will just do it, sometimes just after Siri tells me it's taking longer than normal to respond. So I don't know if that's something that will be fixed in a future firmware update. It'd be lovely if it was, but in general it's not a massive concern, just something I thought I'd mention. But the other side of all of this is the automation. So it's nice to have the blinds open and close at certain times of day, so you don't have to worry about doing it at all. That's one of the really awesome benefits of having smart blinds essentially. And of course you can use that based on times of day, but you can also use it based on sunset and sunrise times. And it can also do things based on other automation rules. There's pretty powerful stuff inside HomeKit where you can set stuff up like when you leave the house, the blinds will close, and when you come back, they'll open. All sorts of fancy stuff like that, even sort of looking at everyone in the house, and it sort of bases it on when the last person leaves. So there's all kinds of fun automation rules you can use to set this stuff up. It really is an amazing sort of upgrade to your house. You know, at the end of the day, I don't really want to spend my time going around all the windows, closing blinds, and the same in the morning. When you've got sort of 3 or 4 blinds that you want to open and close each morning and evening, that's a little bit of a waste of your time, you know. So the automation stuff, the smart home approach to this part of your house is a fantastic upgrade. I really do love having smart blinds in the house. The other thing I'm always kind of interested in with this kind of a product where you've got motors involved and their sort of day-to-day things, you know, how annoying is the sound of the motor? You know, sometimes these things can sound a little bit of a sort of whirring noise, which is not ideal. And in these ones, there's a very interesting sound. It is going back to this sort of sci-fi idea. They do sound kind of like you would imagine a smart blind to sound in a sci-fi film. They've got that nice tone to them. It's not too motory. It's kind of a cool, expensive sounding sound, and I like that about them. The only thing is there is no quiet mode. Other products I've reviewed on this channel, in fact, have a quiet mode where they will go slower, much slower, but it's really quiet. And of course, that's a nice approach for opening them in the morning if you're using them in the bedroom. And as far as I can see, we haven't got an equivalent in this one. And I think they are slightly too noisy to really be comfortable in that situation in a quiet bedroom. You'd definitely be aware of it. So it'd be good if they could make a quieter, slower mode for the automated opening in the morning in a bedroom environment. That would be nice to see. The setup we've got in our lounge here is actually just to have a translucent, this is just a cheap retractable manual one, but it'd be nice to have that fully automated one day as well. But that goes in front of the automated blackout blind. So we've got the sort of full day night blackout control blind behind, which is on the automations, and then we can control the privacy and the light a little bit in the day with the translucent one in front. And these two, the pairings look quite fun. The kids like to set off the manual one and then ask Siri to open the other one and have a race. So it's quite a good approach to have two of these blinds with the different purpose stacked in the same window. It's quite a nice way of looking at this. And one of the other things that's tripped me up with the smart home thing is when visitors come to stay. So basically you want a sort of manual fallback in an ideal world for this kind of a product. So if someone who isn't familiar with your smart home setup and doesn't want to talk to Siri, you want to provide a way for them to control the blinds. And the remote control that comes with this product is perfect for that. You can mount it on the wall near the blind in question, and it's pretty obvious how to use it at first glance. You wouldn't have to explain that at all, really. It's actually brilliant remote remote control. It can control multiple blinds. So you only really need to order one of these if you're getting multiple blinds from SmartWings. You can just click the button to move between the blinds that it controls, and you get a little light showing you which one you're controlling. It can actually also control all of them at once. It's just nice to have a good physical approach to controlling these, depending on who's using it sometimes. So because these blinds are not retrofit, you're not left with any existing cables or chains or cords hanging down. When the blind is up, it's completely neat. And the nice thing about these is that they come with this option to have a fabric in the same color as the main blind, covering up the unit at the top with this nice curved piece across. It just looks really neat. You can't really see the brackets above, and this piece that goes across the front goes right to the edge of the full width. It just looks super tidy. And then of course when the blind comes down, it just goes down. You're not left seeing anything else. And when it's up, it's completely out of the way. It's a great looking product. It doesn't look too geeky or too techy. Just looks like it's sort of exactly as it should, really. As more and more people get into the idea of smart homes, automating the roller blinds is going to be one of those things that people will see a great sort of reward when they make that investment. And these SmartWings blinds are definitely a product I'd recommend for that. If you're new to this channel, I make films on design, usability, and workflow. And I look at all kinds of things, including computers and keyboards. I've done a lot on keyboards on this channel, but lots of other areas in our day-to-day lives as well. So there's definitely something for everyone. If you play one of these next, I'll see you there.